That was anticlimactic, huh? Hello, welcome to the Sad Fan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made you sad from the previous week. And there's really only one thing to talk about from the previous week. And very clearly, that is Anthony Davis getting injured the very first game he plays for the Dallas Mavericks. No, obviously I'm joking, but that did happen. That did happen.
And there was news to me. I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, very first half, and he's out for a prolonged amount of time. He's out indefinitely. Very first.
The one decent piece that they got in that trade.
And he is out. So, with that being said, there was a very big loser. It's an all-encompassing thing, okay? When you think about this, there was one giant loser from the sports weekend. And Wes, I don't know if you're ready for it. It wasn't. Hold on. It wasn't the Chiefs. It wasn't the Chiefs. Okay, this is a holistic loss. There was one big, huge, giant loser.
Taylor
now
Swift.
Hear me out. Did you hear what I said?
Well, yeah. Okay. Taylor Swift.
So we've got Travis Kelce looking sad on the sideline. Taylor Swift getting booed at the Superdome. We've got our president getting booed at the Super Bowl. We've got Andy Reid just getting dragged in the Super Bowl. But wait, Wes, I might be wrong. Because a white boy returned an interception for a touchdown. For the first touchdown, I believe, in the Super Bowl this year.
That was not the first touchdown. It was the second. But
was it the second touchdown? It was going up 17-0?
Yeah, because it was 10-0. It was 10-0 at that point.
So it was, that's right. Because there was another score before that. Wasn't it like a fumble? Like right away? Where they only had to run like 5 yards?
So.
They only had to run like 5 yards? The Chiefs were really making them work for that 17-0 lead, huh? Right out of the gates. And that,
no, it was
Chiefs...
actually a good drive by the Eagles, but it was followed by a 3-and-out from the Chiefs.
So if we look at it, what was the first score? Do you have that box score, Wes, in front of you?
I do, actually.
All right, what was the first score? Who had it, and how far was it?
Was it a tush
Eagles
push? 69 yards. It was a 28-yard pass from Jalen Hurts, a 20-yard pass, and then a Saquon Barkley 40 or no.
It's not a 40-yard run. The only thing the Chiefs did well in that game is stop Saquon Barkley.
Oh, and an unnecessary roughness on the Eagles, or on the Chiefs.
On the Chiefs. All right, so it must have been the score to go up 24-0.
There were a lot of short drives for the Eagles that game.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense was up against the wall that entire game. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, that was the most scared I've ever seen Patrick Mahomes playing in a game.
He played like a chicken.
It looked like when he lost the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay, did it not?
Yeah. He looked like a rookie.
In this one, did you get the feeling that he kind of gave up midway through the game?
Oh, yeah. I feel like he gave up by halftime.
He was waving the white flag. Oh, there it is again. White. Anyway, he was waving the white flag.
They looked like Oregon against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
I mean, how'd that go in the 12-team playoff? But then we had...
It went about as well for the Chiefs as it did for the Ducks. A bunch of late-minute touchdowns to make it look not embarrassing.
We had the lead up to the game, and did you know that even Las Vegas didn't predict this? That even like leading up to the game, the Chiefs were still a 1-point favorite.
Yeah,
it's insane. So were you caught off guard by how quickly this happened?
Yes, I feel like the first quarter it was good. You know, like Eagles were up. I think was it 10-0. After it was 7-0 after the first quarter, and I was like, okay, I was like, the Eagles look a lot better than the Chiefs, but I was like, also it's the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes loves to turn on in the second half, and so do the referees. And the second quarter was just a beatdown. It was 24-0 at the half, and I was like, I think this game might be over.
And it could have been
I was
worse.
like, I don't think Patrick has what it takes to pull a Tom Brady 25-point comeback of the century.
Well, and that offensive line was getting caved in every snap. Do me a favor.
They didn't even blitz once. They didn't blitz once. They sent 4. They sent like 3 or 4 every time, and they just dominated the Chiefs' O-line. They just manhandled them.
Yeah, and I was going to say, since you're the Google master, I was going to say I don't think they blitzed once. So fact check me on that. And that defense, not only did they do that, but do you know who else was able to do that? The Giants, when they beat the 17-0 Patriots. All right, they were doing that with Justin Tuck, Usi Umenyiora, Michael Strahan. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that is the strategy to beat a high-flying team that wants to throw that ball and keep the ball in the hands of their quarterback. The thing was,
have a dominant defensive line, like one of the best of all time.
Well, they made it look like Patrick Mahomes was the president balloon from the Thanksgiving Day parade. You remember the one?
Yeah.
All right. It looked like he had a binky and he looked like he had a diaper on because he was pouting the whole time. It didn't even look like he had fight in him. I would have had no faith in him. And I started to wonder, why don't they run the ball? Why are they not running the ball? Because they're clearly not able to do anything through the air. Okay? The Eagles' pass defense was great. And then I thought of another game where this happened, Wes, and you should be a very big fan of this game. You know what game
they couldn't run. They had no options. Like, nothing was working. They had 11 rushes total, and 4 of those were from Mahomes.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Wes, that's
okay, so Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine, and Isaiah Pacheco combined for 7 carries for 24 yards.
Yeah, it's not enough. I mean, you should have had 7 carries in the first half.
Yeah.
They were trying to do too much. I meant 7 carries in the first quarter. Pardon me. You're trying to do too much. But you know what game that this also reminded me of? So I went all the way back to the 17-0 Patriots. But you know what other game it reminded me of?
What?
Seahawks Broncos.
Yes. I was getting vibes. I was getting those vibes at the beginning. I was like, damn. At halftime, I was like, this is really similar to our game.
Yeah.
And it just got worse in the third quarter, which is what happened with us. We just piled it on Peyton Manning and the Broncos. And that was another all-pro GOAT quarterback who got absolutely dismantled.
That was the year that they were the number 1 offense in the NFL. Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, this is like one of the best offenses we've ever seen. I think Peyton Manning threw like 50 touchdowns that year or something insane.
I think he threw 54.
A lot of good that did him.
Yeah, I think he threw 54 touchdowns that season. And the offense looked unstoppable. But the problem was they hadn't played a defense like Seattle. And I don't know that Kansas City had played a defense like Philly. Philly's defense is yoked. And shout out to Bond, by the way. How about Bond being a free agent pickup and just getting it done? You know, he wasn't even a natural middle linebacker. The Eagles moved him to middle linebacker. Bond.
Really?
He was a defensive lineman.
Wow.
Yeah, they moved Bond. Vic Fangio moved Bond to that position to play middle linebacker for the team. What a great move. And then I want you to, Wes, since you're a Google monster right now, I want you to look up the Eagles offseason really quick. Try to take a look at the Eagles offseason and look at what they did and tell me Howie Roseman shouldn't have won GM of the year because he added Bond, he drafted Cooper DeJean, he got the offensive line situated. Go ahead.
They picked up Saquon Barkley, Campbell, Oren Burks.
Oh, Mekhi Becton, right? They also picked up Mekhi Becton this offseason?
Yeah, I think so.
So tell me, he's the GM of the year. That's what got them the Super Bowl. Did you see the statistic when Fox Sports put up, and by the way, Tom Brady, get out of my broadcast booth.
What?
Get out.
No, Tom Brady killed it. Shut up.
You're insane. He got cut off by a commercial at one point. There was one point they said, what do you think they should do here? Hold on. What do you think they should do here, Tom? And he said the equivalent of play harder.
No, they cut him off because he was saying, "Wow, this looks a lot like when we played them when I was with Tampa Bay," and they
No,
were like, "No,
that's
Tom."
not how broadcasts work, Wes. He has a producer in his ear saying there's a commercial coming in 5, 4, and Dummy's still like blip, 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 blip. Yes, he was terrible. And
No,
also,
he was good.
his stories
You're
were
wrong.
bad.
Nope, you're wrong.
I am not wrong. It was one of the worst broadcasts for a Super Bowl in the last 20 years.
I disagree.
I wanted Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen earned that broadcast. Greg Olsen is the far superior broadcaster to Tom Brady, and it wouldn't have been a train wreck of a broadcast. You're allowed to disagree, but you're also allowed to be super wrong. Also, what was up with that commercial?
I do think
The
Greg
Tom Brady
Olsen is
commercial.
better, but I don't think Tom Brady was bad.
What was up with that Tom Brady commercial with Snoop Dogg? What was going on there?
I didn't see much of the
God,
commercials.
how
I was
drunk
too busy.
were you, Wes?
No, I was making food, okay? I was busy
During the
making
game,
food for everybody at my
What time
party.
did the game come in?
I was still busy finishing up the wings and finishing up the mac and cheese. I started making food like 2 hours early, so I don't want to hear it. You can kiss my ass, bro.
You started making food 2 hours early. Everyone knows you wake up at 8 and you start making food at 8. So that way it's cooking.
Oh, is that what you do, bro?
Every single time. Every single time. That's wasteful of you. You did a wasteful thing and you should be ashamed of your efforts in cooking.
Sorry you don't host real Super Bowl parties, bro.
Oh, we had the whole house clean. We had 2 floors going.
Yeah. We were also still moving in at the time. You also didn't have to deal with that. You've been in your place for 3 years now? I've been in my place for 4 months, so kiss my ass.
You've been moving in for 6 months. Oh, don't tell me I had a Super Bowl party. I'll tell you.
Super Bowl party, yeah. Don't be mad because my Super Bowl party was better than yours. I had dank mac and cheese and chicken wings with Buffalo Wild Wings sauce. I had mango habanero sauce. I had Asian zing, Caribbean jerk, Parmesan garlic. That's the sauces I had. I went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I got a bunch of sauces, and that's what I did.
So you didn't make these sauces. You went to Buffalo Wild Wings and bought Buffalo Wild Wings sauces.
Yeah, because their sauce is bomb. I had a platter of wings, double air fried, delicious, crispy. Everyone loved them.
Our show has descended. How long did you spend in the bathroom, by the way? Because that sounds like a train wreck.
People don't need to know that. And then I also made mac and cheese with Gouda, Havarti, Gruyere. Woo!
So
delicious mac and cheese.
Before we go down, before we take that flight path through the Gruyere, what I want to do is I want to tell you something funny happened at our Super Bowl party, Wes. So Anna wanted to help out with the Super Bowl party.
I need a beer to deal with your crap.
Anna wanted to help out with the Super Bowl party, and Anna ordered off of Amazon UK. Anna ordered football stuff, and so the football stuff off of Amazon UK came in, and it was all soccer stuff. For the platters and everything for the kids.
Very nice. 2 thumbs up.
It came in and I was like, Anna, this is soccer.
Stuff, right? They call it football here, right? They don't care about American football there.
It said I just typed in football, and I was like, yeah, you definitely got soccer stuff.
Did you not look at pictures?
Now, what was funny is, do you remember last year the big hubbub about who Taylor Swift brought to the Super Bowl, Wes?
It wasn't Blake Lively this year, I'll tell you that much.
Yes! How about that? We had a little bit of drama in the Super Bowl, and people should have been wanting the tea. Why did nobody want the tea?
I mean, that's more for like a celebrity gossip podcast, but...
So follow me down this path. No, how funny would it have been to hear Tom Brady and Chris Burkhardt start talking about why Blake Lively wasn't there in the middle of the game? You may notice an absence here from last year. There's no Blake Lively. And, let me tell you, Chris, it turns out... like
there was a back-and-forth lawsuit.
That would have been hilarious. That would have been fantastic if they just break into commentary about why they aren't there.
Poor Taylor didn't get her proposal. Womp womp.
By the way, it was a Jalen Hurts 1-yard rush that ended that
Yeah.
first drive. It was a tush push. Okay?
Yep. That tush
Now,
push is unstoppable.
so you saw what happened on that tush push too, right? Chris Jones got hurt.
I remember it was like a full yard, and they just
Chris Jones got injured though.
Oh.
Yeah. So Chris Jones,
yep.
their best defensive player. Some people might say McDuffie. I don't agree. I think Chris Jones is their best defensive player. He is a terrifying man.
McDuffie's so good for a rookie.
He's very good, but Chris Jones is phenomenal. Chris Jones is terrifying. Okay, so their best defensive player gets injured on the very first drive, and they showed it after that. They were working on his neck, trying to get his neck right, and I think that definitely contributed to what was going on in the game, because that is a piece that Spagnuolo, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, can move all around that line and really disrupt things, and he's really the only one with the size to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I was asking you earlier before we got off on a tangent, and you were telling me about all your sauces, because that was your flex there for your Super Bowl party.
My flex was my party.
You sounded very Trumpy.
It's better than yours. That's my flex, bro.
You sounded very Trumpy, and it was, I had the best sauce. I had all the sauces. People were saying the sauce was very nice.
Very nice sauce.
So that was funny. But before we got sidetracked, by that conversation, I was going to say, did you see the statistic when Fox put up the size of the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, like the average size?
Oh, it's massive.
Yeah, it was the biggest offensive line, I think, since like the 80s or something.
Everyone's over 350 pounds.
Yeah, the second biggest line wasn't even close. That was the funny thing. The second biggest line in Super Bowl history wasn't even close to what Philadelphia had put on the field. And when you look at that, you're literally watching them bludgeon Kansas City up and down the field. Because we stated earlier, Wes, you were very animated about it. They only rushed with 4 the whole game. So they were getting beat up by the defensive line on that side of the ball. Line. And the offensive line was it was crazy they couldn't run the ball. But Jalen Hurts had ubiquitous amounts of time in the backfield to throw the ball and to run that game.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts, I don't even think he got sacked once, did he?
That's an excellent question.
Oh, he did get sacked. He got sacked twice. Patrick Mahomes got sacked 6 times.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes was literally beat up like when all the nerds turn on the bully. Okay?
He also, in addition to the sacks, he got hit 11 times.
Yeah, and one, I thought when we started out the Super Bowl West with the OPI on the Eagles' first drive, literally I rolled my eyes and I said, here we go. Like, the Chiefs are going to start getting these calls. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that.
And that was an amazing catch by A.J. Brown too, right? Like, it was phenomenal. Like, everybody's screaming. And he barely touched the Chiefs cornerback. Like, barely touched him. And did you get the same feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same way. But I don't know what happened. They went quiet after that. I think
this was when we have makeup calls in games where a ref got a call wrong and then you get a crazy call on the other end of the field. Do you think this was a makeup game for the entire season? Where it's like, yeah, we kind of were a little slanted throughout the season. We're going to give you the biggest game of the year.
Well, I think the refs got online bullied, and so they were afraid of screwing it up. And also, they did their job. They got the Chiefs to the Super Bowl to get the views. And then they said, you know what, Chiefs, the rest is up to you. You got to actually earn this Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, here, the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, you could have given that MVP to Cooper DeJean. You could have given that MVP to, what's that?
So when I saw that play, I thought when I saw Mahomes scrambling, I was like, oh, great, here we go. He's going to pull some magic out of his ass, make some crazy throw, and they're going to get 30, 40 yards or a touchdown. And then I just saw him throw it straight to Cooper DeJean. Nobody was even around. And then he just runs it back. I was like, that might be the worst throw I've seen Mahomes make in several years.
I mean, Cooper DeJean,
he is rattled.
so clearly better than Avonte Maddox at cornerback. For the Eagles to try to start Avonte Maddox for even one game of the season, which he started multiple games over
Yeah.
Kuba Jean, like, that's insane to me, right? That's like 31 teams passing on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
It's great. He's so good. He's so good. I wonder what it is they're looking at. Anyway, we'll move right past that. Josh Sweat was also phenomenal in that game on the Eagles' defensive line. Yes, the stat sheet shows only 2.5 sacks, but he was wreaking havoc. It seemed like when the second the ball was snapped, Josh Sweat was in the backfield with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Again, it just shows how dominant their defensive line was. And, it's hard for, like, D linemen sometimes to get sacks because lots of times it's the middle linebacker that gets in.
Yeah, well, that would be a blitz, though. Remember, they weren't blitzing.
Yeah, they didn't blitz at all.
They were literally just bullying the Chiefs' offensive line, and they would keep a running back in to help, and it did not help because that size that the Eagles have on both sides of the ball. Their two defensive tackles are Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, who are just massive human beings and insane athletes.
Huge. Like, they're both probably as big as, like, most O linemen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the super fair assessment. Of course, they're as big as most offensive linemen, and they bullied the Chiefs' offensive linemen. Right? There were so many times when I look at the defensive tackle position, and Jalen Carter is reminding me of Aaron Donald in this game in particular, because if you watch just that position and you watch the snap, all of a sudden you see either the center or the guard's head snap back because Jalen Carter has thrust his arms so hard into that person's chest or head that their head goes flying backwards.
Yeah, Jalen Carter was a monster that game. I almost felt bad for Patrick Mahomes because he was just getting harassed the entire time.
Almost, keyword there. Almost. We could never. Look, man, the Chiefs run is reminiscent of the Warriors run. Yes, the Warriors won 4 championships. People forget they went to 8. They were dominant, right? So the Chiefs, they are now 3 of 5. Okay? They're fine.
Still pretty good. I think anybody would kill for that except the Patriots fan base.
And anyways, Patriots fan base, stop crying. Have the Chiefs entered that rarefied air where you see their fans crying on TV and you're like, oh, shut up.
You guys have 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. Shut the hell up.
Just shut up. Take this one.
God forbid you guys lose one.
Yeah, take this one. You're crying. You just won last year. It's literally been 365 days since you last won the Super Bowl. And here's the funny thing. You're probably going to make it to the playoffs again next year. Relax. Yeah.
Here's the thing. If the Seahawks, if Super Bowl 48 never happened and it was like the Seahawks Super Bowl 49 and they hadn't won one yet and then they lost to Patriots in the same way, yeah, I might have cried. I would have been like, are you kidding me?
It's funny because
we had 48 and I was like, this sucks. Because I was like, I don't know if we can get back here. But I was like, we won last year. So
you suffered though. As a Seahawks fan, you suffered. You were an adult when they went to the Super Bowl. You were an adult. You were a grown
I was
human
an adult
being.
when we got hosed in Super Bowl 30 whatever, Super Bowl 40 with the Steelers.
That's true with Matt Hasselbeck.
even the head ref was like, I screwed up that game and I carry a lot of regret. And I'm like, yeah, thanks, bro. We could have 2 Super Bowls. Was
that the Sean Alexander team?
Yeah.
Matt Hasselbeck, Sean Alexander.
That team was
You've lived a pretty blessed life though, Wes. You're 1-2 in the Super Bowls. But people ask me all the time, how can you be a Raiders fan? How can you be a Raiders fan? Blah, blah, blah. And I think about it, I'm like, at least I've gotten to see my team in a Super Bowl. They got thrashed. They got boat raced, one of the worst performances ever in a Super Bowl. But I got to take that ride.
You guys got a pretty cool coach with Pete Carroll.
He's geriatric, but he's got a lot of energy for a geriatric.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens there with Petey.
I want to have that much energy when I'm his age. I want to be able to just strut up and down the sidelines like he does at like 77, 78. I don't know.
I think he's 75.
Still crazy though. Like you compare him at 75 versus some of the other famous people we've had in our country at 75, and you're like, wow, that's night and day.
Well, he's also got money. That helps, I think.
I mean, so do these political figures that were running our country that were 75 plus.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. For those who don't know, Wes is going to be taking a hiatus for a while. We're going to try to rope him back in with negotiating, but at least until week 1 of the Super Bowl, maybe the draft week, he'll come in and give us some insight into the draft, give him a chance to talk about how mad he is at the Seahawks or something. But that won't be till April anyway, so that's months away. Now, that's out of the way. We're not going to shed any tears because we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no one cares about me.
We'll see what happens in the next 90 days. And then over the summer, of course. But do you see the Eagles being able to run it back?
I don't know. I don't know if I think Jalen Hurts is good enough to run it back. I mean, do they have the potential? Yeah. Because,
it was just 3 years ago, Wes.
Well, is Jalen Hurts still going to be on his rookie contract next year?
No, he hasn't been on his rookie contract, Wes. He already got an extension.
Yeah, but it wasn't like a whole new contract, right?
It was an extension.
Yeah, because he has a pretty small cap hit.
So
his cap hit's like $15, $20 million, which is nothing compared to Patrick Mahomes, like $60 million, and then Dak Prescott, $89 million, Deshaun Watson, $80 million cap hit.
Deshaun Watson.
$80 million cap hit.
The dumbest. We go from Howie Roseman, what could be the smartest GM in sports, to the Browns. I don't even know who their GM is. Is it still Sashi? Is it still Sashi Brown? Is he still? But yeah. So here's the thing with that. Cowboys are going to be bad for a while. I mean, Schottenheimer hire proves that they're going to be bad for a while. But
yeah, they plan on losing for at least the next 3 years.
The Giants are going to be bad for a while.
Yeah.
But the Commanders have Jaden Daniels, and the Commanders looked very good last year, and that's our rivalry for the next what? If the Eagles can stay good, which it looks like they can.
Eagles Commanders is going to be fire.
3 or 4 years. We get that for 3 or 4 years. Now for a longer than that.
Jaden Daniels is going to be the next big quarterback. Like, he's going to get talk of, like, I think if he keeps it up and just gets better, he'll have talk of, like, Mahomes. Like Mahomes has.
Maybe. He was very good. I don't want to put too much pressure on him because, like, look at C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud had a regression this year.
That's true.
But yeah, you could be right.
C.J. Stroud didn't lead his team to multiple playoff victories.
I think Detroit. Yeah, that's true. That is a good point. Detroit. They could be just as good as the Eagles. They're just as big. Detroit was so injured going into the playoffs.
If they can stay healthy next year, my money's on them.
So do you think Minnesota was a fluke?
This year? Oh, 100%.
Okay, so you're counting Minnesota out.
Minnesota had an easy schedule. I think a lot of people missed that, me included. Because everyone was just like, they just still keep on winning. And Sam Darnold looks good. And I think it was just an easy schedule.
Okay.
It was like the Miami a couple of years ago when they just kept winning. But then once
put up 70 points in a game.
that
year.
But once they faced a good team in Buffalo, I think they faced Buffalo near the end in the snow, and they played like ass.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is the real Dolphins.
So I'm going to say all that to say I do think that, because we've got to get you out of here, that they can run it back. But I think it's going to be very tough. I like Tampa. I like Detroit. I like Green Bay. We'll see what Chicago can do with Ben Johnson.
I like Seattle. I hate LA. I hate San Francisco.
Is kind of a wreck. Like, it's kind of weird, man. Like, it could be literally the NFC West could be the highest of the highs or the lowest of the lows next year. We don't know. Like,
terrible this year. But we've been really good years before that.
I mean,
I don't know.
San Francisco could be great next year. We don't know what to expect out of them.
Yeah.
They didn't have McCaffrey for most of the year.
They went from Super Bowl to Super Poop.
And I think they were decent to start the season, the first 2 games of the season. LA, we'll see what they do. They're probably getting rid of Stafford, so we'll see what happens there. And then the Bills. I'm going to do it again.
Bills.
The Bills are the team to beat in the AFC next year. And I don't think the Chiefs make it even to the the conference championship. I think it's Buffalo, Baltimore.
Wow. So do you think Baltimore beats Kansas City? Or do you think Buffalo can finally get that monkey off their backs?
Cincinnati. Because Baltimore wins the NFC North. Okay. So that means Cincinnati is a 5, 6, or 7 seed, right?
Okay.
And Kansas City wins the West. Cincinnati.
You think Cincinnati knocks them off? All right. I would like to see Cincinnati get back because they're.
We gotta log that somewhere. Where can we log that? Where can we log that? Because that's a good prediction.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed seeing Cincinnati and Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. That was fun, and I want to see them back in the playoffs. I feel like they're a good team. They just haven't been able to quite put the pieces together.
It happens. I mean, Joe is great. Joe Burrow is great. He was great. You were calling for him to be in the MVP race this year. You wanted Joe Burrow. I told you it's not going to happen repeatedly, but you swore. You're like, he has the numbers to be in the MVP race.
He did. And he almost brought the Bengals. He won like 6 in a row at the end of the season to bring him back almost to the playoffs.
Do you think he hates Carson Wentz?
Why would he hate Carson Wentz?
Because if the Chiefs beat LA, Cincinnati has a shot at the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, that was the game that eliminated a bunch of teams because the Chiefs lost 30-0 to Denver.
The Broncos, yeah.
Yeah.
To my boy Bo.
Yeah.
My boy Bo.
We'll see I think he's going to regress next year, but we'll see.
Man, if he can get the Raiders on the right track, that is going to be a stacked division.
I think the Raiders actually
Harbaugh, you have Andy Reid, you have Pete Carroll, you have
they need a quarterback though.
Well, you have Sean Payton. All of those guys have won championships,
Patrick
either
Mahomes,
in college
Justin
or Super
Herbert.
Bowl. All 4 of those coaches have won a championship either in college or the NFL. That is a stat coaching division, and I think Kansas City is going to struggle to win the AFC West the next several years.
Wes, I'm going to give you the last words since you're going to be an occasional guest here. We'll see how it pans out next football season, right? The easiest time to say you're going to retire if you're an athlete is right after the Super Bowl. That's the easiest time. You got to get that hunger back in your system. You got to start feeling it. You got to vibrate a little, all right? Feel that urge to come back. But let's get your last words in. What do you want to sign us off with this week?
Go Ducks.
Okay. Why did I do that?
Oh, man. No,